So, the purpose of the live stream is we ask any questions we do and put them to the group. Hey everyone, welcome to the Overpass live stream. This live stream we do once a week, every day at 5 o'clock UK time to answer any questions to the group. So, you know, we do the daily video 7 days a week, but sometimes it's just stuff that I want to talk about. So this is a perfect chance for anybody to have questions if we want to look at other apps, and also to ask everybody because, you know, I'm not an expert on anything, and we can look at things. So already, everyone, thanks for joining us here today. Billy, how's it going? Carol, Dubajati, it's great to hear. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, cool, great. I'm glad. Can you hear me? Is that, or is that cool? So first of all, let's start off with Billy. Came up with a question almost immediately. Has anyone ever had someone decompile their APK to steal assets like art and audio? Now, from my understanding, you don't necessarily have to decompile to get the arts and the audio. I've done this before with Corona apps, where I've been able to go through and just download them as an APK, put the APK in zip format, so just change the extension from APK to zip, and then unzip it, and then you can see a lot of the things, and the things that are not compiled, like the graphic assets, you have access to them. Decompiling is a lot more difficult, but it's possible, and this is one of the things that I found with especially Ionic version 1 was easy to, if you didn't obfuscate the files, it's easy to just go through and see it. And I've had clients contact me in the past that say, we have this app, would you mind having a look at it? Well, we don't have access to the source code, and I just think, oh, that looks like Ionic or a Cordova app, and then I'll download it and say, yeah, I have access to all the JavaScript, which is kind of scary, really. But most of the time, you know, that doesn't really matter. The logic inside the application is, you know, if you have stuff on the server, that's more important and stuff like that. So, let's see. Oh, you can hear me before going live. Oh my God. What was it? I hope I wasn't singing or talking to myself. That's important to know. Thanks very much, Srijan. Oh, jeez. You know, every so often, you know, I might have farted or something. Who knows? Flighter 1990. Hey Eric, thanks for answering my question in today's video. Hey, no problem. It was a really good question. I think it was something that a lot of people ask about. And one of the things to that video, I forgot to include the screenshots of actually going through and seeing that, because I think I'd done those, but I hadn't given them to the to our brand new video editor, and but he still did a really good job of editing that. So that was probably the biggest thing this week in terms of my life, has been hiring Marvin. Marvin Zafra is our new video editor, and he's just been he started on Monday. So Monday he couldn't quite get that one done because he was just getting settled in, and then so I did the one on Monday. But everything since Tuesday has been the new intro, the new everything, and I'm really excited about it. It's almost like everything before that sucked. I mean, there's still the content, but so that's it. I need to get the content better. That's, you know, now I got to up my game. But it looks a lot more professional. It's kind of the way that I always wanted it to look. So I'm really happy about that. Let's see. Tim, hey, how's it going? Azimuth, hi Eric, hi everyone. Greetings from the beautiful Philippine Islands where traffic is horrendous. Oh, cool. Data Plus Code, how's it going? True Dreams, welcome back. Sedic, I am trying to create an Apple developer account but stuck on the two-factor authentication. P.S. I don't have an iPhone or Mac. Good question. If you don't have an iPhone or Mac, how do you get through that on the developer authentication? Well, if you don't have an iPhone, how are you doing iPhone development? I think that would be my question. Are you just doing everything on a simulator? I've never, I would imagine if you're going to do some iPhone development, but I mean, if you're doing something in, well, I mean, all these other frameworks, you know, PhoneGap, Cordova, Ionic is Cordova, you know, sits on top of Cordova. I mean, all of them will compile into iPhone. So it's almost like you don't really need it, but you should do some device testing. But no, I can see why that would be kind of an issue. Can't you just turn it off? The two-factor authentication. I've had problems with two-factor authentication when I turn it on to begin with, and it's so annoying. I mean, I suppose it's important, but Azimuth says, I noticed animations in your latest videos. Nice one. As the interior of your car. Yeah. Yeah, so that was, yeah, the it's almost like we're going back to the a few months ago. I had somebody else working in the office, and she was doing the editing, but she was not a video editor. She was answering phones and everything like that. She was doing a good job. But then when she started, I swear to God, when she started, the phone stopped ringing. It was like so busy before. Once she started, everything slowed down. It was kind of like, I just kept apologizing about the fact there's not much to work on. So maybe you can help out with these videos. So she was watching some tutorials and doing the basics, basically doing the way I do. Slap on the beginning, the intro, maybe put a bit of text in there, maybe look up some music, you know, and what I wanted to do was get somebody who really knew what they're doing. And you know, a few months ago, I thought I'll start looking for someone, and then we found someone to do it. So now I could just focus on all the other stuff and not spend so much time editing. Because we did one a couple weeks ago where it was in the electric car, and it was so much fun to do. And I really like doing those. Get outside so you guys can see a little bit of England and everything. And you know, but also keep coming back to the apps thing. And yeah, it was so much fun to do, but I was like spent like 2 hours editing it, and you know, I'd rather have somebody spending more time, but they know what they're doing. So yeah, I'm so happy about the new videos. I just can't tell you. All right, Monday morning I woke up and I'm coming to the office and I was just sort of in a bad mood. You know, it's Monday, and I'm not usually that way, but I've got so much client stuff backed up that I'm just like, okay, we got to work on this. We got to work on this. What's that bug coming from? I got to talk to the developers on this, right? And I was just sort of like, oh, and then I saw the first video that he had edited, and I thought, ooh, that looks really good. I was like, almost giving some renewed energy. I was so happy. So Graham Ford made it this week. Hey, thanks. I'm glad you could make it, Graham. So let's see. What do you say? Yeah, Billy says you need a Mac to develop for iOS. It is such an annoying thing. The only reason I have a Mac, I kind of like the Mac, but not, I mean, when I first got it, I nearly sent it back the next day. I hated the fact that, you know, they couldn't make the command and controls swapped around. I don't care if Apple was first. You know, I don't care. Just swap them, or give me the option to swap them. But no, they're not going to budge on that, because Linux is like the same as Windows. You know, but on Mac it's swapped around, which it really interrupted the flow of the way that I code, and a lot of the times I was doing stuff on virtual machines on a Mac. So I wouldn't have bothered with a Mac, and now I like it. There's some things I really like about a Mac, and there's other things where I think are just kind of overhyped, but it's all because of the iPhone stuff, just so I can do iPhone development. So, and Hackintosh is something that I looked into also, but I keep thinking Hackintosh is like, what if they just decide to disable something, or it seems like something that will work maybe for a couple months or maybe even a couple years, but it could just get the rugs pulled out from underneath you if they just stop doing it. So I did Surgeon, did I pronounce it correct? Oh, that's amazing. I don't pronounce anything right. Your new setup is great, although I think the editor's been a bit too many overlay images. Yeah, we're still settling in. We're still, you know, we're finding our groove, right? I think I like it, because I'm at the point where I just like everything new. Right? Do you remember? I don't know if you guys some of you guys are too young, but you remember when everyone started getting into the web, like late '90s, early 2000s. A lot of people created their first personal websites, and everybody used the same tacky websites, and everybody used the same font, which was Comic Sans, right? And everything looked really bad, and it was like the more animated GIFs on it, the better, right? Because we were just like, oh, you know, hey, let's get the flashy things, and we hadn't settled in. So we're gonna settle in on the video editing, but I love it. I love the more interactivity, and even just keeping it flowing. Let's see. And Shurjin says, have you ever tried Accelerator's Titanium for making cross-platform apps? No, I've done it. I've done the tutorials. I looked into it, And the thing I didn't like about it was it was almost like it was JavaScript, which is cool, but it seemed like it had its own language, like you had its own layout. And what I liked about the Ionic and things like that was, and PhoneGap initially was just really slow and sluggish, and it just got faster and faster, was that you're using HTML and CSS. And Titanium, with the whole GUI thing, was like you're using their own thing, and I didn't like the fact of getting so invested in their way of doing things, which is one of the things about like Flutter too. I really like the look of Flutter, but I don't know if I want to invest everything into that way of doing things, because what if they just close down one day? But I don't think that's less likely. Jennifer F, hi, hey, welcome. Mega Man, hey, how's it going? Hey Eric, could you please explain the minimum SDK version and the target SDK version? What happens when the phone is Android version higher or lower than the target version and the app was built with? Now, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that the target version is going to determine the compiler, or how it does it. So like if I update the target SDK version, all of those functions that are deprecated, and I'm just kind of ignoring that, they're going to raise an issue, and there's going to be some things that are not going to be able to compile. So, but I mean, you can still do it, so it supports the minimum SDK, but the framework itself is going to be it's going to be compiled for that target version. So like you could have target version 26, which still supports the minimum SDK of version 10. Oh, have we lost a bit of internet here? Oh, come on. So sorry, I don't know if that froze up on you guys or not. So yeah, so you could have the target SDK being 26, and it will still support the minimum SDK of like 10 or whatever, however low you're going. So Android 2.3, whatever you were supporting. However, some of those functions and libraries may be deprecated, and they're not going to compile anymore, which is kind of, it's annoying. That's my understanding of how it all works. But if anybody knows any differently, then let me know. Yeah, the dancing baby. Let's see. Were there 2 live streams on this page? Oh, sorry about that. I think you guys told me to schedule the live streams. I don't think I've got it right yet. I think I might need to experiment with that if you see 2 live streams. Let's see. True Dreams asks, how many downloads do you have on the Apple Store? I don't know. It's been a while since I checked. You mean downloads in total, or you mean current users? Oh, for EarSpy. I'm not sure. Let me show you guys. I'll have to have a look at that one, because it's something that I don't look at that often on the Apple. I tell you what, Apple is dead to me. I mean, I still get the payments from them, but you know, it's because I've had so much trouble at the beginning of this year. I'm still like, every time something comes up on Apple, I just do that. But we'll go through my App Annie page, and that will show it. App Annie gives you a better consolidated view of that over time than the Apple reports do. I had a call this week from. No, I think it may have been last week. But it was like an ASO guy. It was an ASO guy who I spoke to a few months ago, saying we could do ASO for you. And I said, okay, how much does ASO cost, like on a monthly basis? Sure, I wouldn't mind somebody dedicated to do ASO, because it's just so busy with everything else. And they said, well, initially it'll cost you £4,000, and then it'll be £1,000 every month after that. And I thought, yeah, that's not going to happen. So and then I talked to him again last week, and he was trying to sell me his service on using search ads for Apple, and I was like, Apple is dead to me. So let's make the Google Play thing work a little bit better. So let's see. Shurjan says, Eric, give me a 20-minute Skype call, and you'll only be using Titanium. It's clean JS, and now you use XML for layout. It's so powerful, making cross-platform. It sounds interesting. I think Titanium. I had one client contact me 6 months ago about doing a Titanium app, and that was hard to find a Titanium developer. I mean, it was just like I was checking with my developers. Does anybody know Titanium? I suppose I could go on Upwork, but it's really hard to find a Flutter developer. I mean, you can find a lot of Ionic now, and of course native you can find, but I think that's my concern. I guess if I'm doing the coding, I will go for the for the technology that looks like the most fun to code with. But I can only scale so much. I have to look at which one can I do where I can find developers that will take over these projects. So that's so that could be a bit difficult that way. So Siddharth, hey, how's it going? Let's see, Mega Man's. Let's see, I was just trolling him. Oh, you trolling me? Ed, say found you today. You are awesome. Thanks a ton. One thing. Do you build your own UI animation libraries, or do you use open source libraries, or do you pay someone to do it for native Android dev? When you mean UI animation libraries, it depends. I've done one video about how we're using, I can't remember what the name of it was, for the onboarding, the first wizard thing that comes up, say next, skip, everything like that. I can't remember, but there's a few of those, and that's just an open source one. I have a designer. She does a lot of the graphics for that. So I found it really, I mean, when I look at, a lot of times when you go on the Google Play Store, you can tell the difference between an indie developer who is doing his own graphics and someone who has a designer to work on it. That's not necessarily true, because I think somebody can work on both of them, but sometimes you see graphics that look like they're just like clip art almost, or they might just be really, not very polished, right? And I am the worst. I'm the worst in terms of doing design, right? I've done a few. I designed my company logo, and everybody hates it. So, it's yeah. So yeah, I think it's probably been the best investment that I've done, is to hired our designer Sandy 4 years ago. She's been with me over 4 years now, and hiring our new video editor was like something I think is going to be beneficial if we keep up the videos for very long, which I plan on doing. But a lot of it is, we need to think about what more could we talk about. We can't talk about AdMob as often as we'd like to, because there's not that much to talk about. So what other things could we discuss about? Shurjan, your wife's calling you for dinner. Hey, don't be late. I don't want to be in trouble. It's dinner time here in DK, so I'm off again. Wish you a great live stream. Thanks. Cool. Thanks. Let's see. Siddharth says, should I start learning Kotlin or just let it go? I don't know. I think you learning a new language, I don't think there's anything that's going to, you're not going to be wasting any effort, because a lot of the languages, they're very similar when you move from one to the other. So yeah, when I learned Visual Basic, going from Visual Basic to C# was a big jump, because you got the curly brackets and everything like that, but it's still the same concepts. I don't know if I ever talked about this, but I once thought, I had this idea that I would just hire somebody who was not a developer, and I would just train them to be a developer. So I put an ad out, and I said, hire somebody with no experience to be an app developer. We will give you training. And I purchased all these courses, and I had them sit down and do it. And there were certain things that, because I thought, I'm self-taught, it should be pretty easy. And there's certain things that you learn as a programmer that are hard to explain, like functions. Like I had this guy, and there was a few of them actually, but one of them he was making progress, and he was showing me the app. I was like, okay, hey, it's working. It seems to be working okay. And then I looked at the code, and I was like, whoa, it was all spaghetti. And it was like I'd gone back 20 years. I remember what that was like, and I tried to explain it. Actually, you put these into functions, because a function is reusable. And it was like I was talking to a blank wall. It was like I don't understand. It's working, but it's working, but it's working. I was like, yeah, but you need to, all of this data here can go into, this could be a function, and this bit over here could be in its own function, and everything. And it didn't work out. It was just really bad. So, but if you do learn a language, there's a lot of things you learn, like what functions are, in inheritance, and interfaces, and they're all, you have certain core concepts to all programming language, like variable types and variable scope, and things like that. So I think if you learn Kotlin, you're not going to be wasting any knowledge, because I would imagine that going from Kotlin to Java would be easier than going from nothing to Java, or if that's what you were going to go to next. So so that's just my opinion on this. Carol VDW says, in the past months, I've had 2 days where Google Dev Console had a significant drop in installs on active devices, even though my downloads were way higher than my deletes for that day. Anyone else? I haven't noticed that myself, but I don't know if anyone else has. Ramtin says, "Hi Eric, have you ever tried data monetization?" What is it? I recently had a few emails from EPOM, MobiBurn, Elephant Data, etc. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I do get contacted from companies that offer me monetization options that I don't understand. Like one of them was, we just need to have access to the microphone, but you'll get $10 ECPM and no ads, so no ads to know your user and all this stuff. It could be an extra revenue stream. You can still have ads, but have this as well. I'm like, I always say no to it because I think that will get me suspended. Like, I don't trust somebody with their SDK to put it into the app. It may be perfectly normal, and they'll tell me other apps that do it. And then when I'll say, "Can you tell me some other examples of apps that do this?" And then they won't tell you because it's confidential and everything. And I think I don't want to be. Nah, I got enough problems with the fact that I have an app with spy in the title, or used to have spy in the title, that I get emails from people who think that I can hack phones, and they want me to track their wife's whereabouts and stuff like that. I get crazy emails from people just because they think it's just such a simple app that and I get other people saying this has a virus, and they're really suspicious of my app, and I just don't want to have any of that kind of stuff in it. So I've never put any of those things in it, and mainly it's because I don't understand how they monetize. It's like an ad. I get an ad, somebody pays to put an ad in the app, you show it, and when somebody clicks on it or the impressions, you get a certain percentage of that. I get that. I understand that model. But when they say, "Oh, it's helping marketing companies do something," and it's like, but we don't have any interface, that I don't get. I don't understand that. And also, one of my first questions is, what permissions do you need? Because I ain't adding any new permissions into it. It's hard enough with the permissions that I have. So I don't know. Rampton, let me know if have you tried any of those? Flighter 1990 says, "In your opinion, how much ad budget do I need to get that initial spark that will help the app get higher in the rankings and getting organic traffic? For example, if I use Google Ads and pay 5 cents per install." I think you should try that. I mean, 5 cents per install would be really, really good. Yeah, I would think you experiment with it, but make sure you put the daily budget on there. So start with a daily budget of like $10 or something, and just see how it goes. So if you get $10, a $10 daily budget, and depends on what you're comfortable with, because actually on Google AdMob, it could go up to like 15 or 20, which you're like, wait, I have a $10 budget, but it says over the course of the month they average it out, so which I think is kind of stupid. But at least you can see based on the number of clicks and the number of installs, you can get your cost per install. And if it is 5 cents, then wrap that thing up, go to 100, whatever. So, but if you're getting like 60 cents an install or something, then I wouldn't bother. But you have to test those kind of things. So this is really, really difficult. Let's see. Let's see. Is it? Siddharth says, "Is it really important to mention open source libraries in apps which we use? Is it important to mention it?" I don't know. I mean, there's. I don't think I've ever seen an app that mentions which open source libraries it uses. This could be wrong. MyExamPage.com says, "Can we open 2 Google Play consoles with one email because I use one for gaming and the other I want to open for other services like utility or gaming apps?" I've actually asked Google about this. This would make perfect sense to me. Like as a YouTube, like on YouTube, I can have multiple channels with one account because one may be targeted to one group, one may be targeted to another. But I had my creepy spy apps, and I had the educational apps, and I thought it would make sense to have 2 apps, not because if one gets suspended, but that would be a thing, but just to have 2 different brands, 2 different stores. So if somebody goes more by this developer, they're not seeing something completely different, because that's always jarring, isn't it? If you download an app and you really like it, you see more by this developer and it's something completely different, which is definitely the case in my case. So I did ask about that, and it wasn't possible before, so I don't think there's any way to do that unless they've changed anything recently. But just going by the Google Play console, I don't see any options there to do it. But like in YouTube, yeah, I could go through, and if I wanted to set up a second channel where I discuss genital mutilation, whatever I want to do. I'm like gonna do, you know, men's health tips, something. I have no other. I have no other hobbies besides apps. Apps are the only thing I think about, I think. But if I were, yeah, but that's an option because they understand it. But I don't understand why they don't do that there. Yasin says, hi, how's it going? So Rick Calvert says, hi, Eric. Thank you for your Army service. Hey, thanks. You know what? Nobody used to say that. I mean, before, I think it was before 9/11, people used to say thank you for your service. And it's kind of a strange thing because I was like a linguist. And I mean, I still served, and you served in a time of war, so I'm technically a war veteran. But I was a Chinese linguist, and I worked with, I went to PLDC and worked with people in the infantry, and they were like, you know, proper going out to the field all the time. I mean, I was doing my combat duty as what I was doing. So it was still that, and I have nothing but respect for people in the armed services. But yeah, it's kind of a new thing where people say thank you for your service, and I don't know what to say. You're welcome, because yeah, it was back in the early 90s, and did 4 years as a sergeant, and I was so tempted to stay in. I mean, I was so tempted to stay in, but then it was also the unknown. It was either stay in, and I think, well, then I could, you know, in another 4 years I could be an E7 or E6, and then you know, I could go to BNOC, and I could do you know, and then do this, and then I could be the boss one day, or the boss of this group of people, and then it was, but then it was also and then I could just get out. I could just get out and then do what? And I was surrounded by people who were like, they were either one or the other. They were either lifers, or they were like, I can't wait till my ETS date so I can get my termination date so I could get out. And I was like, you know, when they asked me what I was going to do, I said, I don't know. And I even went to leadership school so I could become a sergeant before, just 6 months before I got out, because I still, that option was still open, and it was such a strange thing. So I have nothing but respect. Oh, you studied Arabic while in the Coast Guard. I requested Mandarin. Oh, dude, Arabic would have been awesome. I mean, it was, I didn't request Mandarin. I requested Russian. That's what I asked a recruiter when I joined. So did you go to DLI? I would, you know, Rick. So that was, I requested Russian, and when the recruiters asked, they said, actually, you're really good at languages. And I said, you know, actually, I'm not. You know, I failed French in high school. I really did, mainly from truancy, from skipping school. But you know, so I told them I'm not really good at languages, but they gave me the D-Lab, which is a defense. This is like a language aptitude test for those of you guys who don't know, and I did apparently pretty well on that. And then they sent me to. Then it was until the end of basic training that they handed out the languages, and I didn't get Russian. They said, and I was one of the few people in my platoon. I was the only person in my platoon that got Chinese, and even the drill sergeant was like, "Ruli's gonna learn Chinese," and that was when I learned that I was going to be learning Chinese, and I'm thinking how little I know about Chinese. I'm thinking about kung fu movies. I'm thinking, I can't learn Chinese. And it was right during Desert Shield, and you know, there was it was just after. I mean, it was during Desert Shield. So when Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait, and the troops were massing up, and you know, and then that's when I went in, and everyone says, "Don't, you'll go to war," and you know, and it was that first month at DLI was when they said. They said, if you fail out of Chinese, then you go to war, which is funny because you think about it. At the time, the only war we really knew about growing up was the Vietnam War, and we'd seen all of those really bad movies of the 80s about how terrible the Vietnam War was. And but actually, you know, it was really we were all really popular whenever we had to go someplace in our uniforms during that time. But no, I think it was great. So you did Arabic. Arabic would be awesome. I mean, every time I see Arabic, I think, God, I would love to learn that language. Ivan Gurgic says, "Hi, Eric. I posted this question a few days ago." Sorry, I didn't see the question. Let's see. Yasin. Hey. Mega Man says, "By the way, I took your advice." Sorry, I just lost it. Mega Man said, "I took your advice on removing text from my logo on the app. my crazy cashier and my downloads doubled. Really? That's really good. I mean, we think about text on an app icon. The only reason I say not putting text on the icon is that when you translate it into other languages, that icon, you can't have a different icon for all the other languages, but you can have different screenshots and you can have different descriptions and everything like that. So, but no, that's great. That's fantastic. I can't wait to see the results when I translate my store page. When I translate my store, I'm not saying it's going to be the same because I've had other people have mixed results, but when I translated the store page, it just shot up. I did the same thing with Google Translate, but that didn't have any results. But that first day when everything shot up, I thought, oh my God, right? And whenever you log into the Google Play console or even the App Store and you see that first jump up, you look at the next day thinking, I hope that was just the beginning. I hope it keeps going up, and it's always, but that was one of the cases where it did plateau off there, but it stayed higher than ever before. And it was I cannot recommend localizing your app enough. I mean, that was just the one thing that really caused it to take off. Let's see. They mind the sell. Okay, so Rodrigo's saying they mind the sell of info to others like SimilarWeb, and then they pay you. That sounds creepy, but I never trusted those random ad networks. I don't either. Graham Ford says, I did a few years ago with Leadbolt and got banned from Google Play Store in the end. That's what I'm afraid of, Graham. I'm afraid of that they don't know what they're talking about. Because, of course, everyone promises you something. It's like it gets me that when you become an app developer, right, you put your hopes and dreams into it, and you put an app on the App Store, and maybe it's not doing very well to begin with. But then somebody calls up and says, they're going to take all your problems away. All you have to do is hire our ASO service for £4,000 and then £1,000 a month, and then you're just we'll do everything for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean they could do it. It means you take all the risk. And that's the thing with these networks too. It just felt like I take all the risk, and I don't want to do that. And that's one of the reasons I stick with AdMob, is just because I think if anything goes wrong, then at least it's there. But AdMob seems to be kind of hit and miss too, where they'll suspend you for lots of stuff, or at least I hear a lot of suspensions. Sidhar says, I have a 1-star rating and it reviews good. I cannot contact a user what to do. I get that a lot. I get a lot of conflicted reviews and the reviews and the ratings. So a 1-star review and saying it's good, or a 5-star review and it says, I hate this app or something like that. And I'm like, I think it just kind of evens out for me, but I never quite understood it. Like when people say, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, right? So 10 is always the best. So everyone knows that five stars is better than 1 star, but maybe some people are confused by that. Kripesh, hey there, what's up? How's it going? Data plus code. Post a reply to a 1-star or bad review. Yeah, that's what I would say. Post a reply, because not just to the reviewer, because they might reconsider it and change it, but also anybody who's looking at that review, they might go through and do that. So make sure that they can, because you're not just thinking about the reviewer, because they may not change their mind, but sometimes they do. We've had that happen several times where we responded to a review and they've changed it. And then we didn't ask them to change it. We just said, we're sorry you didn't like it, or we're going to try to make it better, or whatever, right? And they'll change it, and it's always a nice thing. But the reason we reply to bad reviews is not so much for them to change it. It's more that if anybody's going through and looking at the bad reviews, because you're attracted to those ones. Is this thing going to mess up my phone? And you see that and you say, like, I get a lot that say, this app has a virus, right? And it doesn't. It doesn't have any viruses, right? We zip it here, we compile it, we release it, and I try to think of the motivation for that. And I think maybe they downloaded it from another source, or maybe they're just or maybe they're being nasty and rude. Maybe it's a competitor trying to sync it. But then I think, I don't really want to go down the sabotage route, because I don't think most people would do that. Or maybe they just misunderstand. Maybe they have a virus or something else. I don't know. But I have to respond in the reviews, or Rowena responds to the reviews, just to say. And the reason we do that is for anybody looking at that review. We want them to know that, hey, no, I'm sorry, there are no viruses here. We've compiled it here. We released it from here. Everything is good. If you have a virus, please show us some proof and send an email here, right? So Yuri the best. Yuri, Yuri the best. Hi. How are dealing with the Google Play algorithm change? Are your apps getting fewer downloads? Are you trying different platforms? I'm still at the same. I haven't really seen, it stays consistent at about 2,000 downloads a day for me. I mean, it used to be around 4,000 or 5,000. I mean, like a couple of years ago, but it's just really plateaued. I haven't really seen anything major there. Let's see. I got a question maybe for a new topic video. Rodrigo says, how to find total downloads nowadays. Yeah, I think we did talk about that, how to find the total downloads through the reports on one of those videos. But yeah, maybe it would be better as a topic, because then people who are searching for it can find it a little bit easier, because it's kind of nested in that other video about them removing the total downloads for the Google Play page. Fighter 1990 says, I have an off-topic question. Do you like your Ford Mustang? How does it drive? Oh, it's terrible. I really hate it. I wish, oh, my life is so terrible since I got it. I really like it. It's almost like it took like a year for me to get used to the fact that people would watch it when I drive down. If I was living in the States, it wouldn't be that big a deal, I think, but because here you don't see them that often. You're seeing them a lot more now, but like I would be driving someplace and it's in young kids and older men. So they will like just watch me go by, and I started to get self-conscious about it at first, because I felt like am I worthy of driving this car? You know, sometimes when you see somebody doing that, and so I would do that, and I would get out of a car and somebody would say nice, right? And I just say thanks. And at first I was joking around saying, what, this old thing? But no, I really do like it. It's a really nice car. You know, it's one of those ones that are just, it's so extravagant for the rest of the things in my life that it's just like, our house is not that extravagant. That thing's parked in the driveway. But it's just that, yeah, I really do like it. And I find excuses to go places. I find excuses like whenever a client wants to meet with me and say, I can come down to your office. I say, no, I'll go to your office, just because it's so it gives me a chance to drive someplace. Let's see. Rick Calvert says, no DLI for me. I was sent to State Department school in Alexandria. Oh, I didn't even know that they did that. Let's see. Everything says, App Annie do not provide free services. Can you suggest where you can find keywords for free? There's a App Annie. You can check the keywords on the free version of App Annie if you're logged in. We did a video about that. So if you go into ASO section, you would have to guess what the keywords are. But if you're talking about something that suggests keywords for you, you got Sensor Tower, which does, I think they used to have a free version. And then you got Mobile Action. I've been contacted recently by Mobile Action asking if I wanted to do some videos on that. And it's just one of those things where they both seem kind of expensive to me, but they wouldn't be expensive if I saw the benefit from them. So it's almost like, it's like when you buy an expensive development tool and then you never use it. That's what it felt like. It felt like something that I didn't have time to sit there and be the full-on Mobile Action guy all the time. So that's why I stopped using it. But yeah, there's different ways. I mean, you could do, if you're looking for keywords, you could do that through the Google Play, just by typing the Google Play auto suggest. So going into Google Play, typing in your seed keyword and seeing what else it comes with, because that will give you a good idea of what people are searching for, and that's probably the best way to do it. Let's see. Oh, Mega Man, thank you very much. Thanks very much for the $5. Let's see. Brian O'Shaughnessy, hey, how's it going? Hey, Eric, what do you think about Apple removing gambling apps from the store because a developer registered an individual, not a company? I had 6 apps removed yesterday. I saw that on a Facebook group yesterday. Somebody had a bunch of their gambling apps moved. So now I have to create a limited company just to get my app. So is that what it is? Is it just because it's an individual? This is one of the things I don't like about the App Store. I always make the comparison of Google Play and mobile apps being the same as the web were back in the day, where at first it was easy, and then everyone got dollar signs in their eyes and they wanted to go make it, and then it crashed, and but it's still possible to do. And I can remember in 2002 thinking the web was dead, right? Or in terms of new projects, and of course that's not the case. It just became a tool that's good to use, and apps are going to go that way too. But the big difference between apps and the web is that we have the two overlords of Apple and Google, and Apple is the one that I'm probably the most fearful of. I mean, Google will suspend you, Google Play will suspend you, but you can still release your Android app on other platforms. I mean, it might not be as good, the platforms, but it's still something you could do. And on Apple, you just have that one thing, right? When Apple decides they want to remove your app, there's not really much you could do about it, which, you know, the fact that you have to put so much time and effort into it to begin with is, I think it's just terrible. So I hope Brian, that you get that sorted out. It does seem like they're being a bit of the nanny there, just you know, because I know there was a back in the beginning of the App Store, they said they were removing porn apps from the App Store, and that I can kind of see, you know, because kids on there and everything. Although, you know, they might remove things that are in bad taste, but you got the whole thing, you know, what's considered in bad taste. And gambling apps, you know, that seems like something that, as long as you can validate who they are, I mean, you should be able to bet on a game and everything like that, as long as you're being responsible. And you could put, you know, they could force you to put restrictions on how much you're allowed to spend a day or something like that, you know, which they can't do in other platforms. So, but I think it's just terrible that they do that. Everything says, can you suggest a free website for keywords? Google Keyword Planner would probably be the best one. It's for the web, but it would still help you like put your seed keywords in and generate loads of other keywords that people are searching on. So you think if somebody's searching on the web, they'd probably be searching the same way on Google Play. And a lot of the ASO stuff that I read initially was about using that. And then you could also use the, like I said, the auto suggest on Google Play. So use auto suggest on Google Play. Oh, you know what's another good one? Go in and do search ads on Apple, on the Apple App Store, and don't just you don't have to pay for the search ads, but if you go and type in the type of ad, I would do it now, but it's been so long since I've done it, I'll probably end up messing it up. So you go in there and it will show you the search volumes for those keywords or for those search terms. So that might be a good way to validate what you're going to do, right? And also, if you go to App Annie and type in and put your keywords in there, you can see how many apps are there and then how your app is actually ranking for that. Mega Man, thank you very much for the $5. Thanks very much for hosting the live stream. It's like a virtual mastermind group of us app developers that don't have one. I think it's good. If you, some of you guys, you might want to join into mastermind groups, because that's the hardest. I'm in it's not a mastermind group, it's a mentor group, so mentorship group. So I'm paying for it with other business owners, and none of them are app developers, but it's more the business side of things. And I think one of the things that really holds me back is that I don't know any other business owners. So when I have to make a decision about hiring somebody to an outside person, it just seems like, well, just hire them or just do that. But I'm thinking, can I keep them busy enough? Can I do that? And there's also the whole mindset thing where you think, part of me wants to be the nice guy and be liked, and then, but I also need to hire somebody and they need to see me as the boss. So, you know, a lot of times I end up messing up these relationships because I'm too eager to be liked in the beginning, and there's just certain things I think if I was hanging around other business owners more often, I would pick up certain traits for them or see how they work in that. And I think the same thing was with the apps. So it was talking to other app developers and seeing the kind of things they were doing, and some of them were just really doing the reskinning thing and just putting stuff out there, and some of them had no downloads, or they had. And one person in one of the mastermind groups I was in didn't even have an app out, but it was been in development for like 6 months, right? And I was like, there's nothing you can add to this conversation, right? It was like, it was really difficult. So ideally, you get in a mastermind group with people who are in a similar situation to you. They have like this similar amount of downloads. Maybe they have the same sort of problems, everything like that. And but no, I think a mastermind group is really good. And I think just having this discussion here where we can just talk about anything we want to talk about, because I might not, like, a lot of times I'll get up in the morning and think, what am I going to do my video about today? I still haven't done a video for today yet. And so I sit there and go, hopefully somebody's asked a question, I can answer that. And I think I want to talk about something maybe a bit more interesting that I haven't talked about before. I had a comment a few weeks ago from someone saying, you've already talked about this topic. Why are you reusing topics? And I honestly could not have I couldn't remember talking about it before, but I guess I did. So try to talk about new things to talk about, and a lot of times people suggest things that I'm not really, I've never tried, like Unity ads. I've never used Unity ads, and I think I could try to use Unity ads just so I could do the video, but then it's, you know, I don't really have the time to really invest in that. I would be like just everybody else who does a video about, today I want to tell you how great Unity ads are, right? But I don't have any experience. I'm just talking about something out of, you know, out of my butt. I'd rather talk about things that I've tried and talk about how well they've worked, and you know, like it's like the whole thing, show me the numbers. I'm so sick of talking to app people who say, oh, you should use this because this will really help, and you're like, can you show me the download numbers? Well, you know, I don't really want to share my own numbers. Just show me, right? If you're really that good at it, because yeah, we don't really want to try anything unless it really works. Let's see. Sanam Shretha says, I got inspiration from maybe one day I will open my own company. I think you should. I mean, it's a lot of times I talk about owning my own company, but there's so much more I have to learn. I'm like, the way I see it, it's like I want to be here and I'm still way down here because there's so much more I have to learn. I'm trying to shake off the whole I'm a developer thing, and it's really hard just to not do the coding yourself. Like something comes in, it's very small, and you think, okay, I could either sit down and document this for the developers to work on, or I could just do it myself in a short amount of time. And I think I'll just do it myself in a short amount of time. But then, you know, there's more and more work that comes, and I'm tied to that project, and you can't scale when you're tied to the project. Somebody asked me on Facebook this morning, and I thought I might do a video about this. What are the biggest challenges you have in the day with client work or time, whatever? And I think that's just it. You wake up and you're like, what's this to-do list of things I have to do? And some things are kind of embarrassing because they're like, you know, there's people I need to call. There's like a project that is a bit late that I need to get to, or I need to do a demo of an app for somebody, and you know, and it's just this. And then I want to do the video for the day, and that's important to me. So I always get the video done because it's fun, and I think it's important. That's the one thing that has a very tight deadline. But there's all these things that I do, and I should be better at delegating. And I do delegate a lot, and you know, but not really. When something unique comes up, it's having those processes in place. The video editing and design work, that's something we're really good at. We delegate design because I can't do it myself. The video editing I could do myself, but we're getting better at delegating it to our new person Marvin to do that. So that should free up a bit more of my time. But there's lots of other things where I've written processes, but I haven't actually implemented them with someone else. So you know, that's something. It's like, you know, the more you start doing, the more you realize how naive you are, and you're still working at it. And sometimes I'll do a video about a mistake I made. I did a video about a mistake I made this past week about oh yeah, we released an app, and then they came back saying it was crashing, but it wasn't crashing. They were still using the test flight build. That was what it was. So we had, rather than use their account to use test flight, we used test flight on my account because that's one we always use, and it also allows us to have 2 concurrent builds at the same time. So they know which ones they're using, and they were using the old version on the test flight build, which had expired, and that was crashing. So I did a video about that, and one of the comments was, man, you suck, right? I always test everything, and if it doesn't test, then I'm gonna go, then it doesn't go to production, right? And I was like, dude, don't get sanctimonious on me. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and we had a very quick turnaround. And I could be the kind of developer that tells everybody no all the time, or I could be the kind of guy that says, you know what, we're going to try our best to do this, right? And if I say, you know, this is the kind of stuff that went wrong, then I don't expect someone to go and just slap me in the face by saying, you're a total idiot. Although maybe, you know, jury's still out. Let's see. Even Grigic says, I got my first bad review after my installs have plummeted. Conversion rate has gone from 25 to 10 to 15%. Impressions are down as well. That was your first bad review? How many reviews have you had? Let's see. Carol VDW says, oh, sorry, I'm losing it. Carol VDW says, do users get a notification if I reply to their review? Yeah, I get, yes, I think they do. Because we get notified if somebody updates a review. How about when I'm editing my existing reply? I don't know if they do. I assume they do. I've always assumed they do, because a lot of times when you reply, they'll go through and change their review, or they'll or if I. Yeah, I mean, because I can't see people going back and checking it. They must get a notification. I'm pretty sure. I'm probably 90% sure they do. Let's see. Data Plus Code says, Rodrigo, the title is very different, but the video is just going about customized reports. Yeah, Data Plus Code. I was thinking maybe I should go back and do another video on that with a different title. Just so it's easier for people to find, because a lot of times people find the videos because they're looking for a specific answer to a specific question, and it's even I can't remember what the title was. So a lot of times this is it, getting better at things. So trying to get better at things as we go. So hiring the video editor this week was trying to move from being rubbish to not so rubbish. So trying to get better at what we do. And another thing that I'm really bad at is titling the videos. I've had people find a video and the title is not, like, they criticize the title because I was expecting this, but it was something completely different. But it's so I can get better at doing it. But so people can find it. So let's see. Ivan Grigic says, I think it happened because the review is quite long and therefore Google sees it as the most helpful. The reviewer doesn't seem to be going to contact me. So something I could do about that? I think just reply to the review and do that for the benefit of anybody else reading that review. Kripesh says, I use mobile action. It does the job for me. Okay, cool. I've been thinking about using mobile action. I mean, if I had to choose between Sensor Tower and mobile action, I would go mobile action because they seem to support Google Play more. I know Sensor Tower supports Google Play, but it's more of a recent thing, and for the longest time they've been the go-to tool for all iOS developers. Rick Calvert says, 2 months ago I converted all of my client-server apps to CloudKit from LAMP. Oh. Have you ever used CloudKit? No, I have not. I'm still... Somebody posted a video on the channel where it was... The reason he posted the video was because it said that there's like 5%... No, there's a 5% retention rate on apps or something like that. These days, so it's like the retention rate on most apps are really, really low. But there was a video was about Flutter, so I went through watching all the Flutter videos, and one of them was about Flutter with a cloudless architecture, and it was using Firebase as a backend. And we use Firebase for the backend for a lot of things, but a lot of times we're not using the cloud functions. So we have one application where we have a server and Firebase at the same time, which is 2 points of failure. I mean, so it's I'm really, what I'd like to do on one of our next applications, what I'd really like to do is do a Flutter and Firebase backend and use cloud functions and have no other architecture there. So just use that one thing, and we'd have to pay for the Cloudbase, or sorry, for the Firebase extra account. But I like the idea of doing that. Of course, you do have that. What if Firebase goes away one day? I think we've used LAMP, we used PHP for backends before, and mainly the only reason we used PHP was because the developer, like I had one development company who was working on a project, and I said, we need to do the API. I want you to do the API in Node. And they said, well, how about PHP? I said, I don't like PHP. And they said, no, but we know PHP and we're really good at it. And so they did it, and they weren't very good at it. I mean, we weren't able to parallelize it or do load balancing or anything like that because it was just use session state and everything. It was, Facebook has done a PHP, so we know that PHP is scalable. We know that PHP and LAMP stack is really good. It's just there's so many. I found this as a VB developer back in the day when you got you do VB and you're learning all the advanced techniques and you're using interfaces and you're doing everything the right way. You read all the advanced stuff, and then you're compared with somebody who just knocks some stuff together with a wizard, right? I'm a VB developer too, and it's like this broad spectrum. And a lot of times when I think of PHP developers, I'm thinking at the other end of that spectrum, but I know there are really good PHP developers out there. And one of the videos I think is coming up, I talked about how some people are, how when I was a junior developer, how we would have these conversations about which technology was better. Yeah, we would say like PHP would kick ASP's ass or whatever, and we would just like we'd all have these conversations, and when the reality was there were so many similarities between all of them. It was the output that was so similar. Let's see. Sidar says, "Hey Kripish, you have a lot of traffic from Asia. What's your revenues? Is it good enough?" Let's see. Brian O'Shaughnessy says, "My apps for slot machine simulators, free with no in-app purchasing and no money charge." And they pulled those? All right. Oh man, I have no idea. That's just ridiculous. That's Jaime Gill says, "Hi, hey, how's it going? Graham Ford, Unity ads were really poor for me. Graham, every other ad network I use besides AdMob, I've been disappointed by, and it's followed by, I mean, it's preceded by a lot of hype, like, oh, you're using AdMob. That's your problem. There's your problem right there. You just have to switch over to Chartboost or whatever, and you go to Chartboost, and it's like nothing, right? It's so yeah, I don't know. WPD Freedom says to continue to stir on Apple. Apple just rejected the update on my game. I just added 2 characters and bug fixes, but they rejected the update due to screenshots. I did not make any changes on it. They are getting stricter. That's yeah. I mean, I think Apple, it's like they don't. I've said this before. It's like Apple doesn't even want us there. They're just tolerating us, right? When I talk to Google, I've been invited to so many Google events where they're like, they're welcoming. It's like, hey, come on, come on in. Come to this developer event. We're gonna have speakers, and you can talk to other developers and everything like that. Apple just seems like they're just tolerating you. Even when I talk to people talk to reviewers that call up because I asked to talk to the reviewer, they're still just like, and that might be unfair. That's not an Apple bashing thing, because I think Apple does make really good products. I think their hardware is really good, but it's and it's really, when you have a really good iPhone application, it's just, a lot of times it just seems so much more pure. And a lot of times when I do development, I do my development on an iPhone, just because it's easier to run the simulator and everything than it is on Android sometimes. Seems like every time I do an update to Android SDK, my emulator stopped working. I have all kinds of issues there, but the simulator is always working. Of course, the thing I don't like about Apple is they are always asking to update the terms and conditions. Do you accept the new terms and conditions? Like, oh, what? Fine, right? And it's always like just stops you. So let's see. Kripish says, "Hi Siddharth, some of my apps are event apps, so the revenue is volatile. I have a video where I discuss my app revenue. Maybe that will be useful." Cool. Let's see. Mega Man 2016 asks, "What software do you use for project management, feature, and bug tracking?" Mega Man, I feel like I've tried all of them. I honestly have. We started off with Basecamp, the classic Basecamp, and then it was we used it wasn't Active Collab, but we did using the paid version of Active Collab. But before that, we used the clone. It was called PHP Project or something. I can't remember what it was called, and then which we self-hosted, and we did Active Collab, which we self-hosted. We've used Jira. Most of the time, what we use is Trello, and just because everybody understands Trello. Jira was confusing for everybody. If you're like a really hardcore developer, and the reason I like Jira was because all the really hardcore developers I know, they use Jira. Jira is like, it integrates with all these kind of things. It might be kind of expensive, but it is. So we still just use Trello. Trello is really good for just having a bug list, an enhancements list and a bug list and an in progress list and a completed list, and we could keep adding stuff to it. And it's sort of just I like using it, but I'm always on the lookout. I have severe shiny object syndrome when it comes to CRMs and project management websites. I'm always switching. I feels like I've used every CRM system too, right? And I'll pay for these CRM systems and then realize we don't really use CRMs, but maybe we just didn't have the right kind. So it's the same with project management ones. So let's see. Too Much Wasabi says, yes, users get emails when developers do that. So Mega Man 2016 asks, when AdMob ECPM is low, it's usually a good time to buy UAC ads for cheap. I don't know why I never brought... Yeah, that's really good. I don't know why I never thought of that before. So, yeah, that's really good. I think it's because when the ECPM is low, we all feel a bit poorer, so we don't think to go and buy UAC ads for cheap. Let's see, Mega Man 26. How often do your developers check in code to source control? My ideal is that they do it daily, or yeah, just daily. It depends on the developer. Sometimes it depends on how often I chase them, but I want it to be done frequently. I mean, just because it's not just so I could check it, because sometimes I don't have time to check it. But if you've ever had a hard drive failure, then you know that you don't want to have that happen. I've had a designer who was working with me, and he ended up moving on to other projects. And then when he came back, I said, "Oh, I need you this source." And he goes, "Oh, my hard drive crashed and I lost everything." I had a designer lose everything, and I said, "Did you put everything?" So for we don't use Git for graphic resources. We use Google Drive just because it seems to be easier, and it's hard. Designers aren't really. We try to explain to them how Git works. It's just too hard. But developers can figure out how Git works, and I prefer we do that. So yeah, most of the times it's daily or at least frequently. And the thing about Git is you can just check it in locally, but yeah, I prefer to do a Git push as well, because then I can see it, but also it's it's if their hard drive crashes, nothing's lost. And the hard bit about getting developers to check in the code or to do a Git push, especially if they're based on the project. So like if you hire a company and they're doing it on project basis instead of time and resource base, is that they may think that if you have the code, you're not going to pay them. And I totally understand that. The balance of power could shift where I could just take the code and not pay them. So I try to make sure that's understood up front, that we make the first initial payment quickly. We're very quick to make payments. I always pay, but because I don't want there to be that, and I still want to be able to check that payment. So let's see. Flighter 1990 says AdMob often has strange ECPM rates. For example, 3 days ago I got 82 interstitial ads and earned 0. Yeah, I noticed that too. Somebody was asking me on on email to tell them my rewarded ad ECPM rates for the UK, and I went through and looked at it, but it was just so up and down. It was like there was no one consistent day. I couldn't even really give an average. So it's let's see. Impressions be around 1,000. Flighter 1990 says, but only happens sometimes. Normally about 5 cents for 100 interstitial impressions from GB without clicks. Cool. All right. I think we've answered all the questions. Does anybody have anything else they want? Does anybody have anything they'd like to share with the group before we convenience this meeting? Let's see. Hey everyone. I hope you guys are okay with the new style of video editing. Like I said, we're just really trying to stretch our limits and make the videos a little bit nicer. I'm really pleased about it, because when I saw it, it's these little things you think don't matter, but I've got videos. I got a video from last year where I talk about, I think, zero budget app marketing. I think that's the one where I constantly get comments on it. Even today, it shows up at the top of my list saying, "You say you know too often. You know, and I know that I do. I'm trying to get better at speaking. I'm doing all these courses and everything, and going to Toastmasters and trying to get better at stop with the filler words, the ums and ahs and you knows and like. But it's hard to do. But you would think that wouldn't really matter if the content was good enough. You think, well, part of me thinks, well, if they like the content of the video, the fact that I say you know too often shouldn't really bother them that much. But it does, because it's annoying. It's annoying. And the same with the video editing. You wouldn't think that the sound would make that much of a difference, but it does. If the sound is bad, everybody complains the sound is bad. if the editing is bad, everyone complains that the editing is bad. So we're trying to get better at those things so we can focus more on the content. And also, I think that the captions coming out helps to accentuate certain things that we're talking about, rather than just me talking to the camera each time. So, oh, thanks very much. I appreciate that. Too much wasabi. The new one is great. Izar says, I'm a game developer, but my game is not going to hit any reason. There could be loads. We would have a look at it, but we're just nearly out of time. So Israel, could you come back next week and show us your app, or post it here and everybody have a look and get back to you on that one? And Flighter1990 says it all depends on the location where your ads have been seen. Cool. All right, so everyone, thank you so much for showing up to the live stream today. I hope it's been useful. We'll do it again next week. I'll try to figure out how to do these scheduling things. I'm sorry about that. Even Rodrigo was pointing out to me yesterday that I have not scheduled the live stream, even though it was like 1 day from it. So we'll try to get there, and we'll try to improve the quality of these. But if you have any other questions, then bring them up next week. And that's it. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on the daily video tomorrow, and I'll see you on the next live stream on Friday. All right, bye.